Good morning, class, and welcome to week 6, session 2. Can you see my slides, please?
Yes,
All right. Now I'm going to introduce the sonnet as a poetic form established in English, and also talk about William Shakespeare's sonnets. William Shakespeare's sonnets. So two things. Before I talk about William Shakespeare's sonnets, I want to introduce the sonnet as a poetic form established in English. It's a very common way to write poetry, both in the past and the present. All right? Ready? Shall we go on? All right, first of all, let's look at the origin and etymology of the sonnet. The sonnet was originally a love poem which dealt with the lover's sufferings and hopes. A love poem which dealt with the lover's sufferings and hopes. The sonnet, in terms of the theme, we'll see has now changed. Or not it changed, rather, but the theme has been expanded to include other themes, such as religious themes, nationalistic themes, step by step. But the origin was that of the love, the poet's love and sufferings. It originated in Italy. So geographically speaking, the sonnet originated in Italy and became popular in England in the Renaissance. And so the word sonnet, etymologically speaking, comes from an Italian word, from the Italian word sonata, S-O-N-A-T-A, sonata meaning song in Italian. And so literally, sonnet means song, a song sung to the beloved, expressing the hopes and sufferings of the lover. It is meant to be a song, sung, communicating the hopes and sufferings of the lover to the beloved. The lover who is typically or conventionally a man, and the beloved a woman. Meaning, the sonnet in its tradition is written by male poets because it is addressed to a female. And so a woman writing a sonnet, reversing the convention, addressing a man, would be going against the convention. But we have seen in literature that deviation is a merit. Literary deviation, not just in the language of literature, but even in the forms, we can deviate. We've seen a lot of, register mixing, deviation, but I'm telling you that this is how the sonnet was in its origin. It originated in Italy and became popular in England in the Renaissance, during the Renaissance. More than 500 years ago, when Thomas Wyatt and the Earl of Surrey translated and imitated the sonnets written by Petrarch, the famous, well-known Italian poet. Petrarch, who wrote sonnets, songs, known as the Petrarchan sonnets or the Italian sonnets, before the English form of the sonnet was developed later, making us having two styles or types of sonnets. The original one, attributed to Petrarch, who wrote sonnets to his beloved, to his lover, to his amour. Alright, so it originated in Italy and became popular in England during the Renaissance period, when Thomas Wyatt and the Earl of Surrey translated from Italian into English the sonnets written by Petrarch, and they started imitating them, producing the English form or Shakespearean form of the sonnet. Okay, now that we know something about the origin and etymology of the sonnet, where it started, and how it came into England, now let's look at the structure of the sonnet, the poetic structure. Remember our discussion at the beginning of the semester of the distinction between form and structure? So form is the genre. Form is the organic whole which makes a text coherent and unified and logical. So form is the type. So the sonnet is a type of poetic forms. Let's look now at the structure, the constituents that make up the sonnet, the internal parts, the organization, and the order of the elements that make up this form known as the sonnet. Sonnets consist of 14 lines of iambic pentameter. Sonnets consist of 14 lines of iambic pentameter, and now you should be familiar with what we mean by iambic pentameter. We discussed verse, meter, and rhythm last week, or not even last week, the last session. And so iambic pentameter should be known now to you. The name of a meter, which uses 10 syllables in each line of verse, meaning 5 feet. Each foot is made up of 2 syllables, binary feet. So we have 5 feet. And since these feet are organized using the iambic foot, metrical foot, then the rhythm or the rhythmic beats are weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, or unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, etc., etc. Or 1 2 1 2 1 2, di da di da di da di da, like that. The rhythmic beats, iambic pentameter. Written in a single stanza with 10 syllables in each line, arranged into an intricate rhyme scheme, and tend, at least in the Renaissance, to have a male speaker So the origin was a male speaker who addresses his words to an unavailable woman to whom he professes eternal love. A male speaker who addresses an unavailable woman. I don't know if I can find this now. In the introduction to my collection of verse published 10 years ago, The Debris of a War and Other Poems, in the introduction, the writer who wrote the introduction, let me read, I haven't seen this for years. Let me read the first paragraph in the introduction, written by the one who introduced the collection, the anthology. A poet once asked rather rhetorically, a rhetorical question, does the imagination dwell the most upon the woman won or the woman lost? We tend to think more about a woman who is lost, unavailable, or a woman we have won. Imagination certainly dwells more on a woman who is lost or distant or beyond reach. The more remote the object of love or desire is, the more contemplation, pain, and the pleasure one goes through. Excitement of emotion comes from unfulfilled passion. Unfulfilled. A gifted poet has always the capacity to direct his emotions towards an object of desire by using powerful images drawn from the surreal world. The object of adoration itself becomes a viable source for shaping other images. As it is evident in the poet's words, my words, of your visage I have carved a vignette, a picture if you like. Echoes, albeit sentimentally, W.B. Yeats' famous line, her present image floats into the mind. Thus, the woman is the source of imagination and inspiration, love, the motivation and passion, the channel. And then the next paragraph says, this collection of poems titled The Debris of a War and Other Poems embodies these unique qualities. The collection, though not tightly structured in terms of style and theme, is nevertheless beautiful. Have you read my sonnets, guys? Oh, that's sad. As the theme of love, that of his idealized woman and idolized nation, is not only predominant but also well carried. You may want to read my collection. If you want to get a hard copy, you can get it from the author. Sorry, from the publisher. And so, again, sonnets consist of 14 lines of iambic pentameter in a single stanza. Though in the Italian type, we can break them into 2 stanzas, with 10 syllables in each line, arranged into an intricate or complicated rhyme scheme, and tend, at least in the Renaissance, to have a male speaker, because we have seen in this course, for example, a sonnet written by a woman and addressed to a male. So breaking the convention in this very course. To have a male speaker who addresses his words to an unavailable, to a distant woman to whom he professes eternal love. So this was the original theme, that of love, that of suffering, that of hopes. I am losing connection. Excuse me. Can you still hear me, guys? Guys, can you hear me? I have lost connection.
If you want to delete these, WhatsApp also.
Hello, class.
Hi, doctor.
I have lost internet connection.
Hello, doctor. Welcome back.
This is very, very demotivating. Very, very frustrating. All right, can you see the slide now again?
Yes, doctor.
So this was the original theme of the sonnet. A male speaker addressing his words to an unavailable woman, a distant woman, someone who is beyond reach, expressing or professing his eternal love and expressing his sufferings and hopes. But over the years, the sonnet has expanded its thematic range. From the 17th century onwards, the sonnet was also used for other topics than love. For instance, for religious experience, as in the sonnets by John Donne and John Milton. Also for reflections on art. For example, sonnets by John Keats or Shelley, Percy Shelley, or even the war experience, as in the sonnets by Brooke or Owen. And so the themes have expanded, going beyond love. Although the thematic range of the sonnet has been greatly extended since then, the form continues to be associated with the unrequited passion of a male speaker for an unavailable woman. So despite the expansion, but still one of the major themes remains that of unrequited love. Unrequited love. Sonnet cycles. Sonnet styles. As we have already adumbrated, there are two main traditions of sonnets, styles if you like. The Italian or Petrarchan style and the English or Shakespearean style. In terms of the structure, the Italian style has a closed rhyme scheme. A closed rhyme scheme. A B B A, A B B A, C D E, C D E. So the lines end in this rhyme scheme. A B B A, A B B A, C D E, C D E. Grouped as an octave and a sestet. So grouped into two stanzas, an octave, which is an 8-line stanza, and a sestet, a 6-line stanza, and a volta in between. So the volta comes about, since we have 8 lines of octave, then the volta will come at line 9. What is the volta? The volta is a change of direction or reversal in the poem's argument between the two stanzas. So the volta is like a change of direction, like a solution to a problem. So the octave will present the problem, and the sestet, the first line in the sestet, line 9, will present a solution. So it's a change of direction. Volta, like a turning point. This must be an Italian word. And the English, so this is the Italian structure. As for the English or Shakespearean style, it has a different rhyme scheme. It's A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. With a douzaine. A douzaine is a 12-line stanza. A 12-line stanza, followed by a couplet, 2 more lines, rhyming couplet, GG. So it is different from the Italian style. The Italian style, you have an octave followed by the sestet, and in between is the volta. The Shakespearean or English sonnet, and the rhyme scheme is different also. You have a douzaine, 12 lines of A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, and then the couplet G, G. So the 12 lines consist of 3 open rhyming quatrains. The 12 lines, the douzaine, is itself made up of 3 quatrains, a 4-line stanza. So the 4-1 is A, B, A, B. The second quatrain is C, D, C, D. And the last quatrain is E, F, E, F. Plus a final rhyming couplet that in effect shifts the volta to near the end. And so the volta in the English sonnet comes towards the end, the last 2 lines. So line 13 and line 14. In the Italian, it begins at line 9 with the sestet. But you've got to remember that these traditions, however, allow for variation. So this is the typical structure, but these 2 traditions also allow for variation. And we have seen that. For example, in an iambic pentameter, we have seen that we could have, what we describe as catalexis, less syllables, 9 maybe in the line of verse of 10, or we may have extra metricality, an extra syllable or two. We may have what we describe as a foot substitution, which is not a good practice, where we might make use of the spondaic foot or the pyrrhic foot. The rhyme scheme also might also differ. So remember that there is variation, permitted variation. Okay, following are two examples of these types of sonnets. One example of the Italian sonnet and one example of the English sonnet, taken from my collection. So this is an example of an Italian sonnet. To me, it is titled Apology. To me, she comes, bespeaks a feat unique, something august, immortal, and the looks. I look at her, dazed by her lovely looks. Of innocent children, her eyes bespeak, of a beauty bucolic and a strange mystique. Speak her exotic countenance and looks. A lot of bards spoke of her and wrote books about her beauty, diablerie, and physique. And now, from me she asks for a greater note, for something classic, for lutes and sitars, a rhyme non-parole with a Da Vinci code. Oh, whose name bespeaks chandeliers and the stars. What can I say when you're beyond all say, when words stand lost of your immortal May? When words stand beyond your May, what can I say? O Kong, what can I say? She's asking me for something august, immortal, that has a Da Vinci code. We don't want to explain the meaning of the poem or the sonnet. This is just an example of the structure of the Italian sonnet. It was written in 2004, before the poet had lost his hair. Where are we? To me she comes, bespeaks a feat unique. Where are we? So if you look at the structure, it has, as an Italian sonnet, as you can see, it has an octave, 8-line stanza, followed by a sestet. To me she comes, bespeaks a feat unique, blah blah blah, and now from me she asks for a greater note. If you look at the rhyme scheme, as we have seen in the Italian, it's A B B A C D E C D E. So A B B A, unique, rhymes with bespeak, looks with looks, the looks with looks. So A B B A B A, C D E E. Yes. So there is. So as you can see, there is variation in the sestet. There is some variation in the sestet. Okay, now let's look at an example of the English sonnet. Can you see, guys? Example of an English sonnet, Shakespearean sonnet. This is Italian. This is English. Heaven or hell? Shall I read? Can you read? Can you see it?
Can you maximize your presentation, Doctor?
Is this okay?
Yes, doctor. Okay.
Yes.
Spied and draped in that spa, in that posada, all the flames erupted with hybrid jouissance. The zest of past, the pangs of saudade, the lushness, the embonpoint, the response, le dernier cri in the language of flesh, his steps, a piece of music played adagio, nature's grace incarnate, man's ultimate crush, the bard of Avon's muse, Dante's Inferno, and next virgin, and next with flesh aglow. Unlike terra incognita, known, explored, yet it begs for further quest, deep and slow. A quest penetrative, avant-garde, controlled, unclad, lost paradise, pleasure ephemeral. Unclad, regained paradise, pleasure eternal.
That is beautiful. I don't understand what it means, but it's beautiful.
Written in 2009. How is it gone? How is it, Charmila? Are you in love now?
It's beautiful, but like city, I don't understand.
I mean, we don't need to understand what it means to see it's beautiful, even though we need to understand the meaning to appreciate it. But even though I don't understand, I still find it very, very beautiful.
I wrote it 11 years ago, when I had some hair left. Spied and draped in that spa, in that posada, all the flames erupted with hybrid jouissance, the zest of past, the pangs of saudade, the lushness, the embonpoint, the response, le dernier cri in the language of flesh, his steps, a piece of music played adagio, nature's grace incarnate, man's ultimate crush, the bard of Avon's muse, Dante's Inferno, an ex-virgin annexed with flesh aglow, alike terra incognita, known, explored, yet it begs for further request, deep and slow. A quest penetrative, avant-garde, controlled, unclad, lost paradise, pleasure ephemeral, unclad, regained paradise, pleasure eternal. Heaven or hell. Okay, so this is the structure, an example of the structure of the Shakespearean or English sonnet. As you can see, we have a douzaine. It's one stanza. The first 12 lines form the douzaine. The last two lines form the rhyming couplet, which is EE, which is G. What is it? Which is GG. And so it's if you look at the rhyme scheme, A B A B, C D C D, E F E F G G. Let's look at it and see. A B A B, C D C D, Adagio, Inferno. A B A B, C D C D, E F E F, aglow, slow, explored, controlled, E F E F, and then G G, ephemeral, eternal. And in terms of the meter, it is iambic pentameter, spied. For example, weak is pied, strong, again weak, undraped, spied, undraped. So you can see the rhythm, the rhythmic beats. Weak, strong, etc., etc. the lushness, the embonpoint, the response, le dernier cri in the language of a flash, steps, a piece of music played adagio. Still with me? Zach, hypnotized or mesmerized? Okay, sonnet cycles or series. Sonnet cycles or series. What's a cycle? Many poets wrote a series of sonnets linked by the same theme, so-called sonnet cycles. For instance, Petrarch, Spenser, Shakespeare, Drayton, Browning, Meredith, Assaiqeli, which depict the various stages of a love relationship. A sonnet cycle, which depict the various stages of a love relationship. Now, having introduced the sonnet, let's now introduce Shakespeare's sonnet cycles. Let's now introduce Shakespeare's sonnet cycles. Okay. William Shakespeare was commissioned to write the sonnets by the Countess of Southampton. Some people think when they read, for example, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? For example, Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more temperate, more sweet. This is not the... So they take thee to be understood as a female. And as we have said, the tradition is that the sonnet is addressed to a female by a male. But it happens here that the addressee is, believe it or not, whether Shakespeare was a gay or not, is a male, a young man, a handsome, fair youth, with whom Shakespeare developed some kind of love. But in order not for you to judge Shakespeare as being a gay and never read his poems anymore or sonnets anymore, let's clarify this. I won't say that he was a gay. He was rather commissioned, asked to write the sonnets by the Countess of Southampton, the mother of the beautiful but spoiled Earl of Southampton, Henry Wriothesley. So the name of this guy, this young fair youth, is Henry Wriothesley. Shall I compare thee? This you is the Earl of Southampton, Henry Wriothesley. So he wrote them as an argument to her son to marry the granddaughter of Lord Burghley. So what happened? This is a woman from the aristocracy, came to Shakespeare and asked him in return for some money, and Shakespeare was poor, and he must have felt delighted at this, to write poems, something, to her son to convince him to get married. Because this young man, seeing that he's too handsome to any woman, this was not willing to get married, was reluctant to marriage. He wanted a goddess, not a human being, like Kong or Sharmila. For him, Kong was not beautiful enough, nor was Sharmila. So he did not want to get married, and this troubled and pained his mother, who wanted her child to get married before she dies one day. The wish of any mother. And so this was a task, a paid task for Shakespeare, to write as an argument to her son to marry the granddaughter of Lord Burleigh. You will notice as you read the sonnets, because we have already come across sonnets that clearly talk about a woman, the dark lady, the black haired, the dark woman, whose beauty is nothing like the sun, S-U-N. Not as beautiful as you might think in terms of conventional beauty, but she is sexually promiscuous, sexually experienced. She's good at sex. And so we see two addressees when we read his sonnets, 154 sonnets. The whole collection of Shakespeare sonnets is made up of 154. We can clearly see two people being addressed. One, some sonnets are addressed to the young man, to this young man, as an argument for him to get married. And some sonnets are clearly addressed to a woman. And so, Shakespeare then wrote two cycles. One for the man, and one for the woman. Now, who is this woman? Okay, now we know the man. Who is this woman? Historians could not actually identify this woman. According to a book I read about 20 years ago, this woman might be the Italian temptress, the Italian woman Amelia Bassano. But this is not now the issue. So the issue is that he wrote two cycles. Actually, the first 126 sonnets, the first 126 are addressed to the man. The other 28 sonnets are addressed to the woman. The total 154. 126 to the man, 28 to the woman. And so, Shakespeare over the years developed some kind of love to this young man. But was it sexual love? Was it platonic love? Was it platonic or Dionysian love? Dionysian, sexual, or a platonic, asexual love? How do we know if his love was sexual, Dionysian, or not sexual, platonic? Obviously, his love for the dark lady, the woman, is sexual. He is not attracted by her beauty because he clearly says that she's not that beautiful. My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. He's not praising her this way. He's not saying that her eyes as beautiful as the sun, nothing like the sun. But he is sexually obsessed with her. And so, okay, as for the boy, we shall see in Sonnet 126 that the relationship is not sexual. He clearly cuts sex. For example, in the crucial Sonnet 20, the love is established as one which cuts out sex. He says, for example, but since she, nature, but since she pricked thee out for women's pleasure, mine be thy love, and thy loves use their treasure. But since you have been born a man, since she, the nature, pricked thee, planned you for women's pleasure, to pleasure women, mine be thy love, and thy loves use their treasure. So for me is your love, and your love can use their treasure, their vital statistics, the diamond between her thighs, as we read in a poem by Maya Angelou. And so the relationship is not sexual. Am I a professor of literature or linguistics? Linguistics, to be honest, not literature. This is the first time I teach literature. Where are we? So it is not, and so the young man was actually a source of happiness for him. The fair youth was a cause or a source of joy for the poet. But the dark woman was a cause of distress, a cause of pain. He wants her, but she's unavailable. Matahari, a beautiful woman, the dark temptress, unavailable. And he is sexually obsessed. His desire is unfulfilled. His love is unrequited. And so she is a cause of pain and sorrow. The young man a cause of joy. And so he says, that's why he says in Sonnet 144, two loves I have, of comfort and despair. Two loves I have. One is a source of comfort, that of the young man, and one of despair, that of the dark lady. So the first line of Sonnet 144, two loves I have, of comfort and despair, can be seen as summing up the content of the whole series. The whole series, the 154 sonnets. Two loves I have, of comfort and despair. The bringer of comfort is is most likely the young man, to whom the first 126 sonnets of the sequence are addressed. And the bringer of despair is the black-haired, the black-eyed woman with whom the poet is sexually obsessed in the remaining 28 sonnets. So these are the two cycles. The first one is the fair youth cycle, the first 126. These sonnets are a prolonged meditation on love. The first 17 are apparently designed to persuade this young man, who is rather feminine, young man, feminine, who has the face of a woman, who has a woman's face, according to the description of Shakespeare, the poet, who has a woman's face and a woman's gentle heart. Sonnet 20. In Sonnet 20, he describes his face as a woman's face, rather feminine, like a woman. And the heart, a woman's gentle heart. The first 17 Because remember that his mother asked Shakespeare to write an argument for her son to marry the daughter of Lord Burghley. So the first 17 sonnets are designed to persuade this young man to get married, to marry and pass on his beauty to future generations, thus defeating the power of time, who appears as a personified enemy in several poems. Sonnets 15, 16, 19, 60, 63, 64, and 65. Shakespeare, in the first 17 sonnets, was urging this young man to get married so that he could pass on his beauty through marriage and procreation. If you do not get married, you're gonna die one day, and with your death comes the end of your beauty, which is unfortunate. This beauty is not meant to die. This beauty is meant to be immortalized. So get married for God's sake, so that your beauty will be passed on. But the young boy did not want to get married, and so Shakespeare gave up the theme of marriage and the procreation. Sonnet 17 marks the end of the theme of marriage and the procreation. It is the last of the first 17 sonnets that focused on marriage and the procreation. And in Sonnet 18, he decides, he changes the tactics. In Sonnet 18, he decides not to ask the boy to get married anymore, to immortalize his beauty, his pulchritude, and rather the poet this time decides to immortalize the young man's beauty through his own rhyme, his own verse, his own words. And so the couplet to Sonnet 18, the last two lines say, "So long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee." In other words, as long as there are people, and as long as there are eyes that can see and so read, so long lives this, so long will this poetry live, and this will give life to thee. So people will know about your beauty not through your descendants, but through the poems I am writing. And this is exactly what has happened. How do we know about this young man? Through these sonnets. So he successfully immortalized the beauty of this young man through his rhyme and poetry. So long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. The other cycle that consists of 28 sonnets is the sonnets of this cycle are addressed to the dark lady, the dark temptress, the dark temptress, the seductress, the femme fatale, femme fatale. Those 28 sonnets constitute a random collection of poems mainly deploring the poet's susceptibility to the charms of this dark-eyed and not conventionally beautiful my mistress. Eyes are nothing like the sun, but sexually experienced and a promiscuous woman. And so these 28 sonnets deplore, condemn the poet's inability to resist the sexuality of this woman, not her beauty. So he's like blaming himself for being so weak in front of this tyrannical sexuality. So that's all, guys. I have introduced the sonnet and William Shakespeare's sonnets. Now you have a good understanding. Whenever you read a Shakespearean sonnet, I mean a sonnet written by Shakespeare, not a Shakespearean sonnet, that's a type of sonnets, things will fall into context. Any questions? Hopefully you've enjoyed the discussion as usual. If you have no questions, I think we can end the class now that we have no time left. If you like the recording, I can send it to you when I upload it on YouTube. I can send you a copy of it. Would you like a copy? For free. Alright guys, any questions? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? You are more beautiful than summer. The summer in Britain, which is beautiful already. You are more beautiful. You are more lovely. You are more temperate. Alright guys, I'm going to end the class. We shall meet next week with the final week, unfortunately. I don't want to break my heart now. We still have a week. The heart can be broken later on. It has already been broken many times. It won't mind another breakage next week. Okay? Jumba lagi. Sayonara.
Thank you, doctor.
See you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor. See you.
Thank you, doctor.